My brother, my sister, have you ever reached that point where your heart whispered, I'm done, and no one even knew? Let me tell you something. Right before you collapsed, Allah touched your soul. And that's the only reason you're still here today. That moment you whispered, I'm done, was when Allah touched your heart. Have you ever felt like you were reaching your final limit? Not in a dramatic way, not in front of people, but silently, in your own heart, when you were all alone, and you just told yourself, that's it, I can't do this anymore. You didn't shout, you didn't even cry, you didn't explain it to anyone, because honestly, no one would have understood. From the outside, you looked fine. You got up, you spoke, you smiled, but inside, you were already sitting down. You had given up, not physically, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally. You stopped hoping. You stopped praying with your heart. You stopped believing things could change because you felt like nothing was working. And maybe you were even too tired to ask Allah anymore, too drained to say, Ya Allah, help me. Because the words didn't feel real and the silence felt louder than your dua. But let me tell you something. That moment was not the moment Allah left you. It was the moment He touched your soul. You didn't realize it. You didn't feel a flash of light. You didn't hear a voice. But deep inside, something subtle happened. There was a pause, a strange moment of stillness, a sudden breath you didn't expect, a small feeling that told you, just hold on a little longer. That feeling was not your inner strength. It was not resilience. It was not mindset. It was Allah's mercy. He held your heart right when it was about to collapse. He steadied your chest right when anxiety was about to consume you. He wrapped your soul right before you were about to give up entirely. No one saw it. Not your family, not your friends, not even you. Because Allah doesn't always show up with thunder. He doesn't always answer with loud miracles. Sometimes He saves you in the quietest ways possible. Through a random calm, through a breath that stopped your tears, through a verse that appeared on your screen, through a voice like this one, speaking to you right now. That wasn't a coincidence. That was rahmah. That was Allah saying, I'm still here. You see, when you whispered, I'm done, Allah responded not with rejection, but with love. He said, you may be done, but I'm not done with you. And that's why you didn't break. That's why even though you came close to the edge, you didn't fall. Because Allah caught you without anyone noticing. He didn't need to show the world. He didn't need to prove anything. Because He was never trying to impress others. He was trying to heal you privately. You didn't give up because He didn't let you. You're still here. Not because you were strong, but because Allah never left you for even a second. And right now, the fact that you're listening to this reminder, the fact that your heart is still beating, the fact that you haven't given up yet, that is proof that Allah still wants you. Proof that He still believes in your return. Proof that your story isn't over. So the next time your soul whispers, I can't anymore, remember Allah already touched your heart once. And He can do it again. Because even when you feel furthest from Him, He is closer than your own breath. And He's never too far to catch a falling soul. Allah sends stillness, not thunder, when He comes to save you. We often imagine that when Allah saves us, it will be loud, it will be dramatic, it will be clear for the whole world to see. We expect lightning to strike, doors to burst open, a sudden change that flips our life in a moment. But let me ask you something, my dear brother, my dear sister. What if Allah saves you without noise? What if His help doesn't feel like fireworks, but instead like a gentle breeze in the middle of your storm? You see, sometimes the biggest divine rescue doesn't come through miracles we can see. It comes through a stillness that enters your heart at the exact moment your soul was about to give up. You were drowning in overthinking. You were exhausted from waiting. You were overwhelmed by pain. And then suddenly, it's quiet. Not the kind of quiet that feels lonely, but a peaceful quiet. A calm that doesn't make sense. A stillness that you can't explain. That is not nothing. That is not random. That is Allah. It's Him calming you before your situation even changes. Because He knows sometimes the storm outside won't stop. So He stops the storm inside you. Sometimes your external world is still full of chaos, but your chest feels light. Your heart feels strangely soft. Your breath slows down. You sleep better even though the problem hasn't been solved yet. That's not ignorance. That's not numbness. That's Allah's mercy giving your soul a break before the next step. And this is how our Rabb works. He doesn't always remove the mountain. Sometimes He strengthens your leg so you can climb it without fear. He doesn't always remove the fire. Sometimes He walks with you through it and keeps your heart cool like He did for Ibrahim alayhi salam. So if you've been waiting for a miracle, but all that's arrived is a small sense of quiet, don't ignore it, because maybe that's not delay. Maybe that is the miracle. That moment in sujood where your mind went silent, that dua where you suddenly started crying without understanding why. That time you heard something, a voice, a reminder, and your chest felt lighter. Those aren't small. That's divine stillness. It's the unseen help that Allah sends before the big help arrives. It's His way of saying, I see how tired you are, let me ease your chest. Even if I haven't changed your test just yet. And that is far more powerful than we realize. Because some people are saved externally, their situation changes. But the truly blessed ones are saved internally first. Allah gives them peace in their hearts before He gives them peace in their life. He changes you before He changes the things around you. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ, even in the most difficult moments, like Ta'if, like Uhud, like the boycott, always turned inward to prayer, to sujood, to silence with Allah, because He knew when people reject you, when life feels heavy, when nothing seems to move, sometimes the only place left to find stillness is in Allah. And what does that stillness do? It reminds you, you are not broken. You are being rebuilt. It tells your heart, you don't need to figure everything out tonight. You just need to breathe. And remember that Allah is with you even now. So, stop waiting for the thunder. Stop expecting fireworks. Start paying attention to the small moments where your heart suddenly feels soft, where your mind stops running, where you hear something that feels like a personal message from Allah. Those are your signs. That is your help. That is Allah's way of rescuing you without a sound. He doesn't need lightning bolts. He doesn't need to flip your world upside down. He just needs one moment to whisper calm into your soul. And when that calm comes from Him, it's stronger than any storm outside. So the next time the world is loud, but your heart suddenly feels quiet, don't rush it away. That's not emptiness. That's not numbness. That's your Rabb entering your heart. And once He enters, you will feel a strength that no one can explain. You'll carry things you couldn't carry before. You'll smile when nothing around you has changed. Because your stillness isn't from this world anymore. It came from above, from the one who knows exactly how to save you. Without a sound, the night you cried alone wasn't unseen by Allah. There's a night in your life, a night nobody knows about, a night you don't talk about anymore. You might have even forgotten the date, but your heart never forgot the feeling. That night, you didn't cry in front of anyone. You didn't send a message. You didn't call a friend. You just broke. Quietly, alone, in the dark. You were lying there staring at the ceiling, or maybe curled up on the prayer mat, too tired to explain what hurt, too exhausted to even make proper dua. You didn't say anything out loud, but your chest was heavy, and your eyes kept releasing tears. You didn't plan to cry. No one saw you. No one asked. And even if they did, you wouldn't have known how to answer. That was not an empty moment. That wasn't wasted pain. That wasn't a night of silence. That was a moment of divine attention. Because while the world was asleep, Allah was not. He saw you. The same Lord who says, indeed your Lord is always watchful. Surah Al-Fajr 89:14. He was watching with love, not punishment. With mercy, not blame. And He didn't need you to explain, because He already knew. He knew what had broken your heart. He knew the burden you were too afraid to say out loud. He knew the betrayal, the fear, the confusion. He knew you were holding in so much pain, just so the people around you wouldn't worry. And yet, even though no one else saw it, even though you didn't speak, even though you didn't say a single word out loud, Allah recorded every single tear. Not one tear dropped from your eye without Him knowing. Not one sigh left your chest without Him hearing. Not one emotion passed through your heart without Him witnessing. You thought no one was there, but the Most Merciful was. And in that moment, you were not alone. You may not have seen Him, but He was closer than anyone else could ever be. Because Allah doesn't need you to speak for Him to understand. He doesn't need words. He listens to what even your own heart doesn't know how to express. He listens to your silence. So that night, when the world thought you were sleeping peacefully, but you were silently crying, Allah was closer to you than your own breath. And He didn't just see the tears. He saw why they came. He saw every reason behind them. Even the ones you've buried deep. That pain you thought no one noticed, Allah noticed. That moment you trembled in sujood but didn't know what to say, Allah counted that as a powerful dua. That deep breath you took to stop yourself from crying louder, Allah rewarded you for that patience even when it broke you inside. You see, this is why He is Ar-Rahman. This is why He is As-Sami. This is why He is Al-Latif, the one who knows the subtlest movements of your soul. He doesn't need grand gestures. He doesn't need perfect words. Sometimes, all He wants is your heart, even if it's shattered. And do you know what's beautiful? Allah never wastes pain. Not yours. Not ever. That night you cried alone, it was written, it was seen, it was witnessed by the one who never sleeps. It became part of your story, not as a weakness, but as a moment of divine intimacy. A moment where the veils between you and Allah were thinnest. Because sometimes the most powerful worship you'll ever do is not with your tongue but with your tears. The angels recorded it. Your soul remembers it. And Allah will not let that night go without healing. He will bring you the peace you begged for. He will replace what hurt you. He will answer the dua you didn't even know how to ask for. And when that day comes, you look back at that night and say, that was the night I thought I was falling apart. But really, it was the night Allah was holding me together. So don't erase that night. Don't be ashamed of it. Because even if the world forgot it, Allah didn't. He saw you. He heard you. And He is still responding to the pain you whispered into the pillow. And perhaps today, this very reminder is part of His answer. A quiet sign, a gentle whisper from your Rabb, I never left you, I was with you all along. The pain didn't mean you were distant from Allah. It meant He was drawing you closer. There's a common whisper that comes to many hearts when they're in pain. If Allah loved me, why am I feeling like this? If I was truly close to Allah, why does my life feel like it's falling apart? If He's listening, why isn't He stopping this from happening to me? And I want you to know, these questions do not mean you're weak in your faith. They mean you're human. Even the most righteous people in history, prophets, companions, scholars, worshippers, all had moments of pain that made them tremble inside. But here's the truth, no one told you clearly. Your pain doesn't mean Allah left you. Sometimes your pain is the evidence that He's pulling you closer. Because there are moments in life where comfort makes us forget, where ease makes us distracted, where blessings make us too comfortable to reflect. But pain shakes the soul. Pain reawakens the heart. Pain reminds you how much you need Him. And it is in that need that the door to Allah opens wider than ever before. You see, when everything is easy, when life flows smoothly, when your plans are working, you might still pray, but not with the same desperation. You might still make dua, but not with the same tears. You might still remember Allah, but not with that trembling voice that says, Ya Allah, I can't do this without you. That trembling, that breaking point, that moment where your heart falls into sujood, not because it's time, but because it's hurting, that is not a sign of failure. That is a gift. It's a door opening, a bridge forming, a connection being rebuilt between you and the one who never forgot you. Allah says in the Quran, indeed with hardship comes ease. Surah Ash, Shar 94:6. But notice something. He didn't say after hardship comes ease. He said with hardship, that means even in the middle of your pain, even in the same moment that your chest is tight, there is mercy present. You may not see it yet. You may not feel it yet. But it's there silently working. Just like a wound doesn't heal the moment you clean it. Your soul won't feel peace the very second you turn to Allah. But the healing has already begun. And what a blessing that is. Because some people live their entire lives with ease and never once turn their heart fully toward Allah. But you felt something missing. You searched. You called out. You felt the absence because deep down your soul still remembers its Creator. That's a gift. That's not weakness, it's awakening. Pain often brings people to a choice. Run away from Allah in anger or run to Allah in surrender. And if your heart is hearing this right now, then you haven't run away. You're still seeking. You're still listening. And that means even in the middle of the storm, you are being drawn closer. It's not always visible. Sometimes closeness to Allah doesn't feel like joy at first. Sometimes it feels like Allah stripping away everything that distracted you, everything that made you think you were okay on your own, everything that kept your hands full so you couldn't lift them in dua. So He empties your hands so you can finally raise them to Him. And yes, that hurts. It's confusing. You may even cry out, why is this happening to me? But in reality, something beautiful is happening. Your heart is becoming soft again. Your soul is becoming humble again. Your prayer is becoming real again. You stop rushing your salah. You start crying in sujood. You whisper His name with more sincerity than ever before. That's not distance. That's closeness being rebuilt. That's Allah cleaning your heart, polishing it, preparing it for something far greater than you've ever known before. Because a heart that remembers Allah during hardship becomes a heart that is never alone again. That pain is not pushing you away, it's pulling you back. And Allah is so merciful that even when we stray, even when we forget, even when we sin and distance ourselves, He still wants us back, even through the pain, especially through the pain. So don't mistake your tears for punishment. Don't think your brokenness means Allah is angry with you. If anything, your brokenness may be the very reason He's drawing you nearer, because Allah loves a broken heart that returns to Him. He loves a sinner who repents with sincerity. He loves a servant who cries for no reason except that they miss Him. And maybe that's what this pain is for. Maybe that's why you feel so much, because your soul is trying to remember the one it came from. So right now, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Try asking, what is Allah trying to bring me back to? Because when He removes, He replaces. When He tests, He purifies. And when He breaks something open, it's usually to let the light in. So keep going. Keep praying, even if it's through tears. Keep walking, even if your steps are slow. Keep trusting, even when you don't understand. Because one day, you'll look back and say, that pain didn't destroy me. It brought me back to the one who saves me. And you'll realize you weren't far from Allah. You were being led straight into His mercy. The moment you thought you were abandoned was when you were held the tightest. There are moments in life where your heart says something your tongue is too afraid to admit. You look around and nothing feels familiar. You feel disconnected from people, from your routine, even from your own self. And deep down, a quiet voice whispers, where is Allah? Has He left me? You feel ashamed for even thinking that, but it's there. And sometimes you don't have the energy to push it away. Because how do you explain what you're feeling when the emptiness isn't physical but spiritual? You still pray, but it feels hollow. You still raise your hands, but your du'as feel unanswered. You still cry, but there's no relief afterward. And that's when Shaitan tries to whisper the worst lie of all. You've been abandoned. But listen carefully, my brother. Pay attention, my sister. That's not abandonment. That's hidden mercy. Because if Allah had abandoned you, you wouldn't even care that you feel distant. If Allah had truly turned away, your heart wouldn't still be looking for Him. If you were truly left alone, you wouldn't still be here, still praying, still searching, still listening to reminders like this one. That restlessness in your chest, that ache when you miss feeling spiritually alive, that pain is not rejection. It's a sign that your soul still remembers its Lord. And that is closeness. That longing is a rope still connecting you to Allah, even if you don't feel it pulling. Let me ask you something. Have you ever held a baby that was crying? They're thrashing, screaming, red-faced. You hold them tighter, but they think they've been abandoned. They can't see you. They can't understand you. So in their little mind, they think, I'm alone. But you know better. You're holding them even when they don't recognize your embrace. That's how Allah holds you. In moments where you feel forgotten, He is actually closest. In moments where you feel ignored, He is watching most carefully. In moments where you feel weak, He is strengthening you in ways your eyes can't see. Because His love doesn't always feel loud. Sometimes it's gentle. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's hidden behind tests, so that it can awaken something deeper inside of you. Allah says, when my servants ask you about me, indeed I am near. Surah Al-Baqarah 2, 186. But He doesn't stop there. He continues, I respond to the call of the caller when he calls upon me. He didn't say, I'll consider. He didn't say, maybe I'll respond later. He said, I respond direct, immediate, certain. But what if his response isn't in changing your situation, but in carrying you through it? What if his answer is not removing the storm, but holding your heart so it doesn't drown? You may not feel him, but he never needs permission to be near. He is already there. Sometimes Allah hides his nearness behind a silence, not to punish you, but to grow you, to deepen your sincerity, to test your patience, to purify your reliance. Because love that only exists during ease is not true love. But love that holds on even when it feels like nothing is left, that's real. And Allah wants you to have real faith. So He allows these moments, not because He's far, but because He's building a version of you that can stand stronger, love deeper, and walk closer to Him. There is something powerful in being held when you feel abandoned. It rewires your heart. It shifts your relationship with Allah from one of just requests to one of real connection. So if right now you feel unseen, unheard, unloved, remember, even the Prophet ﷺ had moments of deep silence from the heavens. Even he said, "Oh Allah, if you are not angry with me, then I don't mind the rest." Because he understood, as long as you are still holding me, Ya Rabb, I can survive anything. And you can too. You're not abandoned. You're not forgotten. You're not being punished. You are being carried by the one who created your soul, the one who heard your first cry, and the one who'll never stop writing your story even when you want to give up. You are being held tighter than you realize. You just don't see the arms that are catching you. But one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, you'll look back and realize the moment I thought I was the furthest from Allah was actually the moment I was resting in His mercy. And that realization will bring tears stronger than any storm that came before it. So hold on, even if it's just by a thread, because Allah is still holding you and He's never let go, not even once. Allah knows your breaking point, and that's where He shows you His mercy. Sometimes we reach a point where the pressure inside us becomes so heavy, we don't know whether to cry, scream, or stay silent. We've tried patience. We've tried making dua. We've tried distracting ourselves. We've even tried convincing ourselves that everything will be okay. But nothing seems to work. And then the fear begins to creep in. What if I'm not strong enough for this? What if I actually break this time? What if Allah is testing me beyond my limit? But my brother, my sister, please listen carefully, because this is important. Allah knows your breaking point. He knows the exact moment your soul starts to tremble. He knows how much pressure your chest can carry. He knows how long your heart can endure before it collapses. And most importantly, He never allows you to reach that point without sending His mercy. You might feel like you're right at the edge, and maybe you are, but Allah is already placing something beneath your feet that you cannot see, a kind of support that holds you up, even when you feel like you should have fallen by now. He sees the burden that no one else sees. He hears the whispers in your heart that you've never said out loud. He feels the cracks forming inside your chest before you even notice them yourself, because He is not like anyone else. People judge you based on what you show. Allah supports you based on what you hide. People see your smile and assume you're fine. Allah sees your soul and knows you're struggling. You see, there's a secret in this life that only the believer understands. The moment you think, I can't take anymore, is often the moment Allah begins to carry what you couldn't. It's in that exact second, when your knees hit the floor, when your voice becomes a whisper, when your eyes can't hold back the tears anymore. That's when His mercy descends in ways you can't imagine. You may not notice it right away. Because His help doesn't always arrive with noise, but it's there in the form of unexpected calm, in a dua that flows without effort, in a verse you randomly hear that feels like it was meant just for you. That's Allah showing you, I see you, I know you're tired, and I'm not going to let you fall. He says in the Quran, Allah does not burden a soul more than it can bear. Surah Al-Baqarah 286. That's not just a comforting statement. It's a promise, a guarantee, a divine law. So, if something has entered your life, a pain, a test, a delay, a heartbreak, then Allah already knows something about you that you don't. He knows you can handle it with Him. He knows this pressure will lead to growth. He knows this delay will lead to something better. He knows this hardship will bring you to a version of yourself that couldn't exist without it. But He also knows that you're not a machine. He knows the days you're pretending to be strong. He knows the nights you're holding your pillow like a lifeline. He knows the moments you open your prayer mat and the words don't come out. And He doesn't judge you for that. Because the one who created your tears knows how sacred they are. Especially when they fall in silence just between you and Him. The truth is, you don't need to be unbreakable because you were never meant to be. You just need to be sincere, even in your weakness. Even when all you can say is, Ya Allah, please help me. That's enough. Do you know why? Because Allah doesn't wait for perfection. He responds to sincerity. He responds to hearts that whisper, I'm trying, Ya Rab. I'm not okay, but I'm still here. And that is what He loves the most. You see, your breaking point isn't your ending. It's often your beginning. It's where true faith is born. Not in perfect moments, but in moments where you fall down in tears and don't get up until your soul feels lighter. That's why some of the most powerful du'as come from people who thought they were finished, who thought they had no more strength, who thought they had reached the end of their story. But instead, they found Allah waiting there, waiting not with blame, but with mercy, with comfort, with healing. And that's the secret. Allah often lets you come close to the edge, so you'll stop trying to carry everything alone and finally turn to Him, not because He needs your prayer, but because you need His nearness. And when you do, when your forehead touches the ground, when your voice breaks in sujood, when you say, Ya Allah, I can't do this without you, He responds every time. And His response is not always a change in the situation. Sometimes it's a change in you. He gives you sabr you didn't know you had. He puts strength in your voice when you speak again. He softens your heart when it was about to go numb. He lifts you gently, lovingly, and with full knowledge of what you went through. Because He saw everything, even the things no one else ever will. So, if today you feel like you're reaching your limit, don't be afraid. Because that limit is not a wall, it's a door. And Allah is on the other side of it, waiting to meet you with mercy that's bigger than your pain. He has always known your heart. He has always known your capacity. And He has always planned your healing even before the hurt began. So hold on, my dear soul. You are not breaking. You are being softened. You are not losing. You are being realigned. You are not alone. You are being held by the one who knows you better than you know yourself. And He will never leave you to face anything alone. When the world couldn't heal you, Allah waited for you to turn to Him alone. There comes a time in every believer's life when they reach out and no one reaches back, when they speak but no one truly listens, when they cry and the room remains quiet, when they try to explain and still feel misunderstood. You've been there, haven't you? You tried talking to people. You tried being vulnerable. You opened your heart just a little and hoped someone would understand. Someone would say the right thing. Someone would finally help you heal. But instead, you were met with silence, or worse, with words that hurt more. They said, just be strong. They said, you're overthinking it. They said, you'll be fine. But none of those words touched what was really aching, because the pain inside you wasn't simple. It wasn't something that could be fixed with a motivational quote. It was deeper than that. It was a soul-level wound. And what no one knew was that you were breaking on the inside while still trying to be okay on the outside. But do you know what's beautiful? Even when every door seemed to close, Allah didn't walk away. He watched it all. He saw you texting and deleting. He saw you checking your phone, hoping someone would reach out. He saw you sitting in a gathering, smiling on the outside, but fighting to hold yourself together on the inside. He saw the nights you tried to fall asleep early, just to escape the thoughts. He saw the days you avoided mirrors, because even your reflection didn't feel like you anymore. And while the world kept spinning, people kept talking, life kept moving, Allah remained still, present, patient, waiting for you to turn to Him alone. Not because He enjoys your pain, astaghfirullah, never, but because He loves your return. He knows that when the world disappoints you, it leaves an opening in your heart, a space that can finally be filled with only Him. You see, people can remind you, but only Allah can restore you. People can say, stay strong, but only Allah can make you strong. People can listen, but only Allah can heal what they can't even understand. So maybe, just maybe, Allah allowed the world to feel a little colder, so you would walk toward the only source of true warmth. Maybe He allowed people to not show up for you, so you could experience what it feels like when He shows up completely. You might have thought He was silent, but really, He was waiting for your tired hands to rise, waiting for your forehead to press against the ground, waiting for your voice to finally say, Ya Allah, no one else understands, no one else can help me but you. And that is the moment everything begins to shift. Because when you turn to Allah with truth, with rawness, with sincerity, with a heart that's finally done pretending, you meet a kind of mercy that no human love can ever match. A love that doesn't expire. A love that doesn't demand. A love that knows you better than you know yourself. He is the one who says, call upon me, I will respond to you. Surah Ghafir 40:60. He didn't say only call when you're perfect. He didn't say only call when you've stopped sinning. He simply said, call. And He promised to answer, even if your voice shakes, even if your heart is unsure, even if your hands are trembling from guilt or grief. Allah's door is never closed. And the truth is, when everyone else failed to heal you, it wasn't because they didn't care. It's because they can't. They're not Allah. They're not designed to hold the weight of your soul. They can offer kindness, but they cannot rebuild your broken spirit. Only Allah can do that. And sometimes He holds back that comfort from others, so you stop searching in the wrong places. So you stop trying to pour your heart into vessels that were never made to hold it. So you finally return to the place your soul has always belonged, in sujood. That's where your healing starts. That's where the tears finally make sense. That's where your heart finds a quiet it couldn't find anywhere else. Because Allah doesn't just listen, He responds, He repairs, He rebuilds, piece by piece, night by night, prayer by prayer. He takes the shattered parts of you, the disappointment, the confusion, the loneliness, and rearranges them into something more beautiful than you even remember being. So if right now you feel like the world hasn't seen your pain, if you feel like no one truly understands, if you feel like your heart is too heavy for this life, then know this: Allah is not waiting for a perfect version of you to return. He's waiting for the honest version. The version that says, Ya Allah, I've tried everything else, now I'm just turning to you. And the moment you say that, you won't just be heard, you'll be held. Held in a way that calms you, changes you, and reminds you that even when the world couldn't heal you, your Lord never gave up on you. Not for a moment, not for a heartbeat, not even for a breath. He's always been near. And now, He's ready for you to finally feel it. The reason you're still here is because Allah touched your soul before you collapsed. There's a question that sometimes echoes in the heart after everything you've been through. How am I still here? How did I survive? What should have broken me? How did I make it through nights where I couldn't even breathe properly? How did I hold it together when I thought I was falling apart silently, piece by piece? You see, you may not remember the exact moment, but somewhere in the middle of the breakdown that never fully came, something divine happened. Allah touched your soul, not with a grand miracle that everyone saw, not with a sudden change in your situation, not with a loud voice or a powerful vision, but with something even more powerful, a quiet, invisible mercy. A moment so soft that even you didn't realize how close you were to giving up, and how suddenly you didn't, because Allah intervened. He didn't stop the storm outside you. He calmed the one inside you. And that's why you're still here. People might say you're strong, but only you know the truth. You were not strong. You were exhausted. You were emotionally bruised. You were spiritually confused. You were mentally drained. You didn't survive because of your own power. You survived because the one who created your heart refused to let it stop beating. He didn't let you collapse because your story wasn't finished. You were about to walk away from people, from plans, maybe even from life, maybe even from Him. But He didn't let you. He surrounded you with a stillness that had no explanation. He allowed just enough strength to help you get through that day, not the week, not the year, just that day. And then the next, and then the one after that. You weren't climbing a mountain. You were crawling through darkness. But somehow, you kept moving, even if it was just breathing. And that somehow was never you. It was Allah. Allah says in the Quran, and you were not the one who threw, but it was Allah who threw. Surah Al-Anfal 8:17. Meaning, even in the moments where you think you took the step, it was Him guiding you, carrying you, pushing you forward when you had nothing left inside. And perhaps right now you're wondering, why didn't I break completely? Why didn't I just give up like I wanted to? Why does this pain still exist, but somehow I'm still alive? Because Allah had already written mercy before the test. He had already planned your return before the trial. He had already protected your soul before it fell too deep. There is a moment in the life of every believer where no one is there, no voice replies, no comfort enters, and you reach a moment of silence that feels unbearable. But that's the moment when Allah is writing something unseen. It's not the end, it's the opening. Because sometimes in order to restart your soul, Allah has to bring it to a still point where it can't pretend anymore, where it can't perform anymore, where it can't run anymore. And then in that raw state, when you're face down in sujood with no words left, He touches your soul. He places something inside you that doesn't make sense. A strange peace, a small hope, a whisper that says, keep going, I'm with you. You might not remember it clearly, but that's when things began to shift. Not always on the outside, but internally. You found just enough energy to pray, just enough stillness to rest, just enough faith to whisper, Ya Allah, I'm tired, but I trust you. That whisper shook the heavens, because even though the world thought you were fine, Allah knew exactly how much of you had faded, and He refused to let you disappear. So He kept you alive. He gave you breath. He placed moments of beauty in front of you that reminded you why life is still worth living. A smile from a child, a verse that reached your ears at the perfect time, a late night reminder like this one. All of it was Him touching your soul again, not to punish you, not to shame you, but to remind you, you're not forgotten. I'm not finished with you yet. Because if Allah had no purpose for you, you wouldn't be here, but you are. Even after the heartbreak, even after the delay, even after the loss, even after the disappointment, even after the tearful nights when no one saw what was happening inside you, you're still here, still breathing, still believing, even if it's just a little, still holding on, even if by a thread. That thread is a rope tied to Allah, and He's still holding it from the other side. You didn't survive because of you. You survived because of Him. And if you're watching this right now, that's not by chance. That is a sign, a whisper, a divine message. You almost gave up, but I didn't give up on you. And maybe that's all you needed to hear tonight. You're not weak. You're chosen. You're not late. You're being prepared. You're not forgotten. You're being protected. And the reason you're still here is because Allah touched your soul right before it collapsed. And once He touches the heart of a believer, that believer is never the same again. He may fall, he may weep, he may feel lost, but he never truly gives up, because that touch, that divine touch, leaves behind a light that refuses to go out. And that's the light that brought you here. That's the light that's still flickering inside you. It's small, maybe, but it's real. And with Allah, even the smallest flicker can become a sunrise. So hold on. The fact that you're still here means your most meaningful chapter has not even started yet. My beloved brother, my precious sister, I want you to take a moment right now and breathe. You're still here. And that means Allah hasn't finished with you. You may not see the wisdom yet. You may not understand the delays. But one thing is certain. He never left you. Not for a moment. And if you almost gave up but didn't, it's because He touched your soul when no one else could. So don't give up now. The most beautiful part of your story may begin right after this very test. And I promise you, when Allah rewrites your heart with peace, you look back and thank Him for every tear. May Allah bless you. May He heal you, and may He raise you in this world and in the next.